Hello and welcome everybody back to the League of Europe for round number 10 here for division number 5, round 10 of the 17-round championship for what will be the lowest division in the League of Europe. But I'm sure we're still going to get some absolute class action as we are here for the Belgian Grand Prix. Looking at the championship standings coming into this one, Energetic still leads but will not be racing tonight, so his 13 championship point advantage to Excel Major after coming down by 25 points last week could be in jeopardy after dominating really in the first 8 rounds of this championship. Harry F on 80, Marcy on 76, Sumcon 72, Ghost Recon 67, and then there's a 30-point gap back to Swip and Ben Scott on 37, Jav on 36, They Hate Melty on 34, as it looks like it's raining here in qualifying to get this one open. And before I continue on with the standings, it's just myself for the time being in the commentary booth, as Killer Blue or Jake will be joining us around sometime during qualifying. But yeah, back to the standings. So we have Serial Killer on 33, Alex Liliart on 31, Jess Gamer on 29, Jamie Met on 28, Aboud on 28, Akon Corrupt on 25, Babo O'Reilly on 20, MCFC on 18, Riordan on 13, Ricky on 12, Joseph on 10, Axel on 9, Bellon on 2, tied with Ibo on 2, and Emperor Rub in first. I'm going to just turn down my game volume because that is very loud. And then we can get back to the action out on track, and it looks like it's only going to be the Ferrari of, I believe this is Baba O'Reilly, I want to say? No, Joseph, sorry. Joseph saying that he doesn't have a wet setup, so being out on track first is quite interesting there for the Ferrari driver. Joseph currently 21st in the standings with 10 points. The English driver not having the greatest of seasons up to this point so far. Other drivers out on track. There is a Williams. Also, a few people have selected the softs in the pit lane. And I think one of them is Swip, who is out on track. Let's just see how that's going. Ibo right behind him. But yeah, people out on track. We have Joseph, and then we have the Williams of Riordan, and then the Alpine. I think that's going to be Ben Scott. Alpine not together out on track here tonight, and then it's going to be the McLaren of Just Games, just heading through this hairpin turn 8, and then a no name and into turn 9 here. But let's hop on board with Joseph because he's going to be the first one to cross the line to start a flying lap. Of course, unless he comes into the pit lane, then it would be Riordan. So just heading around this circuit very, very quick. Yeah, just looking at a few of the updates from coming out of Saudi Arabia. Obviously, qualifying just ended a little while ago during the Division 1, 2, and 4 races. So that's still sinking into some people. But yeah, here comes Joseph through the final 2 corners, 18 and 19. The bus stop chicane, infamous as always, getting changed just a few years ago, weren't it? But yeah, here comes Joseph around the final corner as I pull up some circuit stats. Just heading into turn 1 is La Source here. Let's hop on board with the Ferrari driver since he is going to be gracefully taking us through this first corner. 7-8, almost exactly 7 kilometers that you will be covering in one lap of Spa-Francorchamps, something like that. So, yeah, butchering the pronunciation, Joseph heading up Eau Rouge and Radion, not the greatest there for the Ferrari driver, and he could be backing out, just staying in 8th gear. So let's hop on board with Riordan, taking Eau Rouge and Radion quite nicely. As you can see, a lot higher speed than Joseph was, just getting back up to that mark where Riordan is now heading into Lake Com. First sector split, 33.144 for the Williams driver. Now we head through Lake Com's turn 5 and 6, and now into Malmedy at turn 7. You want to be careful not to invalidate there. A little bit of mid-corner understeer for the Williams driver, but now we head into this very difficult downhill off-camber hairpin. Very easy to lock up into the braking zone there, but you want to wind the power on a little bit wide of the apex. There is Riordan, and now taking the esports line is the Williams driver. Let's see what he can do through Puan, all over the curb on the inside. That's not really where you want to be placing your car. We have a yellow flag at turn 1. That's MCFC, I believe. Just starting his lap, but now here we go into Puan, or through Puan, and now into the into the campus chicane and now into Stavilo, just down here at turn 14, and now into curb Paul Ferrer as we head through turn 15, and now onto this back not so straight. Blanchemont will be coming up, just heading through this turn, the left-hander of turn 16 here, and then Blanchemont, this left-hander, can be flat, easily flat in the dry, flat here for Riordan as well. A few stabs at the turning, but now into the bus stop chicane. Final two corners, turn 18 and turn 19. Does look to be drying up here, but here we go through. Let's see what it's going to be for Riordan. And across the line for the Williams driver, it's a 57.4. Not the greatest to last. There's still a lot of time in it, I would imagine, for the Williams driver. A few missed apexes, not quite carrying the speed that you would want to be, but I think he's going to have quite a bit of time to find there with the Williams driver. So, yeah, Riordan, he's been in a few of these races. Not having the greatest of results up to this point so far in the season. 13 points was named, 5th place at Austria, and 3 points at Britain. Has not started the last 3, is a reserve. He moved down from a full-time spot as Speed Josh, a new Division 5 driver, has crashed at Puan, so that's going to be his qualifying session. Over a few drivers selecting the dry tires. His DRS is now enabled, so the dry tires should be faster and should be ever improving as the water starts to get cleared off the circuit. Slimkhan has gone into provisional pole position with a 155.248, and Babber O'Reilly just following him on the front row. There's a Williams who just crossed the line. That's going to be Riordan's teammate in Ricky, who must have been invalid on that first lap because he did not set a time. So now let's look to the Red Bull of Serial Killer, who is on an outlap, being followed by very closely by MCFC, who did have a spin on his previous lap. So now let's look on board to Riordan coming around the circuit once again. And as you can see, the rain, it's still raining just a little bit, but yeah, Riordan has backed off here, I believe, because it does say the soft tires are faster up to this point. So yeah, Riordan coming into the pit lane after his one flying lap on the intermediate tires. No one except for Jess Games currently out on track on the dry tires. As Killer Blue has joined the session, I'm sure he'll be very shortly coming up into the commentator's booth. But yeah, once again, no one out on track on the dry tires. You do have 3 sets of soft tires, 1 set of mediums available in qualifying, and then obviously your intermediates and your wets for the entire weekend, as Joseph now leaves the pit on a set of soft tires. But we will continue to ride on board with Jess Games, since she is the only one out on the closest one to starting a lap on these slick tires. If you can look here, you can see the smooth surface of these dry tires. There isn't going to be anything in between these, and you want to be sticking to the road as much as possible. So that's just why you have the slick tires. Then you obviously here, if I could flip to someone who's on the intermediates, you can see once they stop a little bit, there are grooves in the tires to remove the water. And I believe Killer Blue has joined us here in the party.
I have indeed. Hello. Sorry I'm late.
I'm sure you had a very nice night on the town, if you will. I'm sure you had a very nice dinner. But yeah, now we're on to the very intricate racing of Division 5 here in Belgium. 10 minutes left here in qualifying. Slimkhan on pole position, but the session started out wet, but now it's seemingly gone to the dry tires, and Jess Games is going to be the first one to complete a lap on the dries, I would imagine.
That was the first thing that jumped out at me. We've only got 4 drivers that have set laps, and it did look like it was drying up, so presumably everybody waiting for some slicks. We've got Jess Gamer, say, first on a lap. She's on the medium tyres, and that could work, couldn't it, Packy? If we have such a rapid rate of improvement on the tyre, you could, if you sneak it at the right time, you could overperform with the medium tyre.
Yeah, definitely, especially if it's quite slippy out there. It does look to be pretty dry, a few raindrops on the camera of this McLaren as we head down towards Lake Com. But yeah, I think once we get down to the end of the session, obviously not a lot of people out on track at this moment in time as Jess goes purple through the first sector. Slimkhan actually heading out on the mediums as well, just getting out of the way of Joseph, who's on a set of softs just starting his flying lap. But yeah, you can see a few water droplets on the camera, but I'd imagine once we get down to 1 minute and once the checkered flag has dropped at the end of qualifying, that the circuit will be quite dry, just heading through Puan for Jess. We did see Speed Josh crash out of qualifying in his debut on the intermediate tires just a few minutes ago through pulling quite a deadly corner. It can be, and now we're heading down towards Stavlo, turn 14, a little bit wide of the apex, maybe just not getting the heat into these tires. Obviously the circuit and the air temperature will be a little bit cooler since there was just a ton of rain that just fell down here. But yeah, now just heading through the final sector, almost a straight line. This should be flat as we head through Blanchemont. It looked clean as always for Jess. A Red Bull just getting out of the way. That's Serial Killer now in through the bus stop chicane. The final two corners a little bit wide of the apex, but all you really need is to get the traction down and the DRS open. It's a 48.3, almost a 7-second improvement from the inters to the dries. So now let's hop aboard with Joseph as he's just heading through the final sector now.
Yeah, I think with the rate of improvement, we're going to see Joseph quicker than Jess anyway over one lap. I think he's going to shave seconds off this Jess time, maybe perhaps a 46, 45. If I prophesize correctly. We've got quite a few drivers out in the teams actually, Jav, MCFC and SlumpCon as well. And in fact it's quicker than even I thought, 43.9, so 4.4 seconds for Joseph over Jess. And that just shows you there's going to be a really steep improvement curve all the way through this session, and I think within 3 or 4 minutes we might just see it cap out. We might see the absolute peak qualifying times come the very end of the session. So I still think everything we're seeing now isn't necessarily going to be representative of what we see at the end.
Yeah, even then, a 43.9 doesn't seem like a too bad of a time at all. Obviously, Joseph not known for being at the front of qualifying here in Division 5, but you never know what could happen in Belgium. Quite a few things have changed here in the in LOE history, especially when it comes to championship battles. You were mentioning it in the Division 5 chat just a little bit earlier on. But yeah, Serial Killer now just heading through the final sector, getting a pretty decent tow from Jess. Inadvertent or not, Jess Games giving us a tow to Serial Killer.
Jess is on a lap as well. Ooh. Jess is 2 seconds up on a lap, so Serial Killer's just misjudged his lap time.
That's a dive bomb.
They're going to be ruining each other's laps here.
Ooh.
Jess will improve, but she's not going to be happy. And where's Serial Killer go as well? 44.2. Jess did improve.
Oh, Riordan.
Yeah, they properly...
Not Riordan. Serial Killer off in the grass there.
Yeah, they really got in each other's way there, didn't they? I think that was just a miscommunication as much as anything, or a misjudgment from Serial Killer. Stuck close to Jess, or so close to Jess, but he wasn't expecting her to carry on and do another lap. But when the track's improving like this, that's all you can do. You've just got to keep putting in the laps.
Yeah, that's the most you can do. Put in fuel for a few laps, and then maybe get one super fast hot lap right at the end once the track is definitely dried out and you've gotten used to the conditions as well. Yellow flags in the first and the third sectors. A SlumpCon coming across the line. Ivo just in front of him. SlumpCon goes the fastest out of the people on the medium so far, 44.567, just a few tenths behind Serial Killer. There's a Williams heading to the line. That's going to be Riordan. He was our first out on track this evening and goes 4 thousandths of a second in behind Joseph. So the front row pretty close out there on track. And now it's going to be the Alpines of Ben Scott, Harry F. once again being close together out on track, as well as the Aston Martin. Now it's going to be Jav following Swift. Swift not using it DRF. Jav seems to be on a lap. Swift will move over to the right hand side. Jav will stay on the racing line. Super break early, getting out of the way of his Aston Martin teammate Jav. A little bit slidey through the bus stop chicane there in that first part, getting a little bit over rotated, and now it's going to be a 45.1 for the Aston Martin man, splitting SlumpCon and Jess Gamer 6 tenths to Slump. And now I'd imagine that Jav would repay the favor to Swift going down towards Lake Yeah,
we've just got Baba O'Reilly, Luke Etheridge finished lap 45.8, and just while you were chatting there, Alex Lilliot had a spin through Lake and had to abandon his lap, so a couple of mistakes. You mentioned the yellow flags popping out. We've got XL Major just starting a lap. Big weekend for him, I'm sure you've already mentioned, with Energetics not here. Swip going through sector 1 there, 6.5 seconds up on his PB, but his PB's a 2-minute one, so no surprise. I think Jav is going as well. We've got Ibo has spun a Lafania. Very weird spin there. He caught it on the first part of that chicane. But Jav's given Swift a nice tow all the way around the lap, and Jav nearly lost it out of no name. The rear complaining, stepping out on him, nearly spun him into that left-hand side barrier. Let's have a quick look in on the two Alpines you mentioned. Line of Stern coming through the second sector. I think This could be very competitive laps just from judging by the timing that we've got in the top right of the screen. Yellow flags of people getting out of the way. Let's see how Ben Scott attacks chicane. I think, Packer, you'll agree this track's probably at its maximum now. It's a really nice first apex from Ben Scott. Gets the car rotating nicely for the second. Back end complaining the track. Goes pole with a 43.6 until his teammate beats that by just over a tenth.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of track improvement. Obviously, Harry F. wasn't too close behind Ben Scott, but close enough, really. Would have been close enough for a little bit of a slipstream in real life, but obviously you need to be around 8/10 to get a slipstream here in the Codemasters F1 2021 game. So the two Alpines up top taking that... taking that line formation, as they always do here in qualifying. 3 minutes left in qualifying here. Just getting out of the way of one of the Mercedes. That's not Marcy, because he has spun around at Malmedy. That's going to be Ibo. They're getting out of the way as he heads through Malmedy and has invalidated as well. So unfortunately there for Ibo. I think that was Excel Major trying to chase down Energetics here in the championship. 16 points separates those two as Excel Major invalidates at turn 1. Not the greatest of things to do. I think Ricky is just heading to the pit lane. There's a Ferrari on an outlap. That's going to be Joseph. I'm not sure if anyone else is on a lap. I don't think so. So I think I'm just going to ride on board here with Joseph because currently P3 on the grid, 3/10 separates him and the front row. So let's see what the Ferrari driver can do heading through La Source now.
We've got an interesting split. You mentioned drivers on laps. We've got a really weird split in when drivers are coming out for laps. Obviously, Harriet and Ben Scott, they've not got time to come in unless they're fueled up for another lap. So that could well be their times. XL Major's got no time to come in and change tyres as well. So he's going to have to do a slow lap, save up his airs, and go again. You mentioned Joseph on a lap coming through sector 1. 3/10 per second improvement already just from what is in effect one corner. I don't think he had too much of a slipstream there, so clearly Joseph must have scuffed La Source on his first effort coming through the hairpin there, which I think is nameless, possibly, and then through No Name, which is aptly nameless, and down the hill towards P1. No esports line for Joseph through there. Car complains, understeers, doesn't want to quite turn in. He didn't snap the car in perhaps as much as he'd like. He's got Serial Killer just in his eye line there. That could be a little bit distracting. Spotting his braking point lip through La Fania. Those curves a little bit auto spin, and Joseph's struggling to keep hold of the car as he comes through Stavilo now, and he's still 3/10 of a second up, but there's so much more time in this lap. It could be costly, and indeed he ended up costing himself there. The car just wouldn't stick for him, and he's out of this session. And just ahead, Major is going to go for another lap on those mediums.
Yeah, Major just starting. Another driver just coming through the final corner. That's going to be Riordan to start a lap as well. So the qualifying order sort of mixed up here in Belgium. Serial Killer, I think, is just coming to the line to start one. Slumcon as well, who's just allowed past to start one. There's a McLaren that's going to be just starting the lap. There's an Alpha Tauri behind her. That's Harry Maguire, or H. Maguire, my apologies, starting a lap as well. Ibo is just heading through Stavlo now. 7.7 seconds up for Ibo. So what would that put him on? A 49.5 if my math is correct. So still not enough to improve for him. He's also running quite low on ERS, is also quite low on fuel as well. The Alfa Romeo just behind him is spun. I think that's MCFC, has spun without getting a lap in here in Belgium.
Swips on a good lap. Swips 3/10 of a second up. He's going to be the first person to finish, and he might even snatch a very weak toe for MCFC. I don't think he is, but he's on course right now to slip into the 43s. Could go ahead of Reading, could go ahead of Joseph, because those guys are so evenly matched. Joseph, of course, out of the session, but went deep into the last chicane there, did Swip. Couldn't get the car straight on traction either. Doesn't manage a 43 in the end. Lost a quarter of a second in sector 3. I don't want to say he bottled it, but maybe that's exactly what he did. And he has lost it. Gained only a tenth, and he's stuck in P6.
Yeah, Jav has invalidated his final run, so he's going to be P9 at the best. Excel Major has invalidated and now backed off, getting out of the way for Riordan. I didn't quite catch a sector split, but I'd imagine he'd be up. He only needs to find 100th or half 100th of a second to move up to third place on the grid. That would be the inside line, so not the racing line, but it's still the inside, the best line for La Source if you're racing another car. Let's see through the final chicane. Big whack, a curb there on both turns 18 and 19, all over the curb on the exit. Let's see what it's going to be. 43.8, so enough to put himself up into P3. Let's watch the Haas of Slumpcon. He's invalidated the Red Bull of Serial Killer. He's on a lap. Excel Major has pulled into the pit lane and retired from the session. Checkered flag has dropped over a minute and a half ago, and Serial Killer goes up to the top, a 143.101 for the Red Bull driver. Jess Games goes up to 9th. There's an Alpha Tower coming to the line. That's H. McGuire. I didn't quite catch his time.
I think that's Pole.
But I think it's Pole.
That's Pole.
I think he did a 41 there in the end. That's at least what it says on his steering wheel, because that would be quite a good lap time there. And it is.
And it is by 1.1 seconds. We have seen Ocon Crap H. McGuire has shown flashes of potential. He had a difficult time at Australia last week. Led the first start and then ended up crashing out after VSC and then crashed out very quickly in the second start. But he's on pole. Serial Killer at second, Harry F third, Ben Scott fourth. The Alpines denied a front row lockout. Reardon, Joseph, Major, Swift, Slumpcon, Jess ran out the top 10. And then Jav, Bava, O'Reilly, Ibo, Rickiet, Speed, Marcy, Liliart and MCFC. Those last four, not setting times. And again, Marcy, we've seen this a lot, Packer. He doesn't seem to like setting times in qualifying. He's very happy coming through from the back. And he's done the same again here. Did he crash out early on, or did he just not come out? Is that something I've missed?
I know for sure that Speed Josh, debutant, was the only for sure retirement out on track, at least from a crash.
We've got a problem. I've accidentally joined as a driver rather than a spectator, so I will have to retire in the pit lane at the end of the first lap. It's okay. This is how my first LOE commentary went. We had old school as a commentator in a car, but it's okay.
I remember that race. It was Season 4, Division 2 at USA, I believe.
Yeah, it's Season 3, I think, actually. Season 3, Division 3. But yeah, so I can give you the view from the back of the field for this opening lap. And all I can say is thank the Lord we had agreed for you to take the start on this one.
Yeah, well, anyways, the timer has ticked down, and now we will be on to the formation lap, and lights out, and away we go, if you will, for H. McGuire, Ocon Corrupt, in the championship standings. Just gonna very quickly look for his name. 16th, 25 points to his name. Second place with fastest lap in Bahrain, 6 points in Britain, and then 4 DNFs besides that, and 1 non-points finish in Monaco. So, yeah, H. McGuire, let's get these tires up for all of the viewers out there. It's going to be McGuire, Serial Killer, Harry F., Ben Scott, Riordan, Joseph, top 6, all on the softs, and then Excel Major qualifying inside the top 10 on the mediums, as well as Slumpcon at 9th, but it's going to be Swip splitting those two, and then it's going to be Jess in P10 on the soft tires, followed by Jav on the mediums and Barbara O'Reilly on the mediums, so they lock out the 6th row of the grid, and then Ibo and Ricky on the softs locking out the 7th row of the grid, and then Speed Josh, Marcy both on mediums, Alex Lillier on softs, MCFC on the mediums, and then our very own Killer Blue in 19th on the soft compounded tires. How are they feeling now down there?
They're feeling good on default setup, of course. I'm going to have a very Anchor XL locking in my DMs, I'm sure. But yeah, I can take you through the lap because give you a driver's experience of it. Coming through No Name, very tricky corner, easy to cut, but hard to cut perfectly. Poo on as well, you want to turn in just the right fraction. If you turn in too sharply, you're going to ride over that curb, it's going to spin you out, the car's going to bottom out, and it's a good night Vienna. But if you turn in just the right amount, kiss the apex. You don't want to ride the curb, you just want to kiss it. You can get so much time if you hook that up nicely. Generally in the race, you tend to run a bit more margin fair and just run a little further away from the curb. Same with Lefania, curbs auto spin, so you don't want to ride them, you just want to kiss them. We've got MCFC here backing up quite a lot.
Yeah, McGuire's already on the grid,
any
so
cars as possible.
Well,
have some very cold tyres.
Yeah, H. McGuire was heading onto the pit straight, as most people were just heading through curb Paul Frere. So an entire sector splitting most of the grid. But he's definitely on the grid, waiting for the rest of his competitors to slide into their spots. Serial Killer, Harry F., Ben Scott, Riordan, Joseph, just sliding in as of right now. And then Excel Major. Let's see what type of start the Alpha Tower is going to be able to make off the line, especially on those medium compounded tires. And we will have MCFC and Killer Blue filling out the final row, or the final two, of course. But yeah, let's head up towards the front, wait for those lights to get on, and we can get this race underway. Round number 10 here for division number 5. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. Long hold, but it's lights out, and away we go. McGuire not getting the greatest of starts, going to be able to cover off Serial Killer into turn 1. Atlas Source, the two Alpines going side by side. H. McGuire gets a decent exit out of the first corner. It's going to be Serial Killer, then Ben Scott, Harry F., Joseph, and Excel Major going side by side with Riordan to his left on the soft compounded tires. Let's see, it's going to be side by side through Eau Rouge and Radiant, but Excel Major's just going to hold his nerve, and he's going to be staying in 6th place. Riordan in 7th, followed by Swip. Slumpcon able to keep his position on the mediums as well. No position changes up at the front. Serial Killer looking to the outside of Harry Maguire up towards Lake Com. He's going to look to the outside of the Alpha Tower. The Red Bull sister teams fighting each other here on lap number 1. And now the Alpine of Ben Scott looking to take advantage of this as well. But I think they're just going to be holding positions for the time being as we head through the first sector and now through the middle. Jab, I think, might just have picked up a little bit of damage because going quite slow. Alex Lilliard able to make the move. Just Gaming looking for a move down the order as well. Jab on those mediums really struggling. No visible damage quite yet as MCFC tries to look for a move as well. Baba O'Reilly, a little bit of contact between the McLaren and the Aston Martin just in front of Ricky, looking to the outside of Puan, and Speed Josh living up to his name, giving Ricky a right old scare as they head through Puan, just making that move there. Marcy following his way through from the back as well. Looking up the inside as we head through the chicane here. Josh all over the inside curb, flushing him out wide. But looking up to the front of the grid, it's going to be McGuire leading by a second from Serial Killer. So that fast formation lap really quite helping him. He has a decent amount of ERS. Serial Killer burning to try and stick with Ben Scott, Harry F., all sticking with the Red Bull drivers. MCFC and Just Games swap spots for P11, the final 2 points positions here in League of Europe. But we still do have quite the time to go. H. McGuire leads as we go on to lap number 2. A 1:48.664 is the fastest lap of the race. Obviously, it can be a little bit slower since all the cars were just coming up the grid. Alex Lilliard as well as Jav into the pit lane, so my suspicions were correct about that damage. And now we head through Eau Rouge and Radion for the second time out of 22 times, of course. And now there's a yellow flag. I think that's just for Jake retiring in the pit lane as Jav gets a new front wing. Alex Lilliard gets a new front wing as well. Now, and we can focus on to the on-track action. Marcy and Baba O'Reilly looking side by side is Marcy burning all of his ERS, and he's going to be able to get that move done quite quickly as Joseph and Serial Killer and Harry F. all picking up penalties now.
I am staggered. We are on lap 2 of a Belgian race, and people have already picked up 3 seconds of penalties. We've got Marcy having a look at Jess in towards turn 8. That's going to be an ill-advised overtake if ever there was one. Very short braking zone, downhill, easy to lock up. And then Marcy goes very wide at no name. That will be a warning. So, yeah, I'm flabbergasted. These penalties. We've almost split, haven't we, into an A and a B class race. The gap between Slumpcon and MCFC that was in part caused by that damage for Alex Lilliard on lap 1 and Jav to the back as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys move on. I think Jess is acting as a bit of a bottleneck right now for those behind. Marcy's going to have a go for it into Stavilo. That is not the wisest move, but I think Marcy's just about to hold this one. Jess was very giving with the space and is through. We've got yellow flag. That is just Ibo having a spin at Lafania.
Yeah, not the greatest of times for Ibo there. And the Mercedes, Alex Lilliard catching up to the Mercedes driver after that spin in the middle sector as Riordan into the pit lane already. Possibly a little bit of damage for the Williams driver. We'll have to see as DRS is enabled here on lap number 3. The two McLarens getting getting very close to each other and possibly making a little bit of contact. It looks like Baba O'Reilly off into the runoff, just heading into the pit lane, and they will be losing all of those positions. Yep, Riordan into the pit lane for a front wing change and a new set of medium compound tires for him. So the two Williams not having the greatest of times either. Riquier in P12 as of of right now, just trying to stick with Speed Josh just in front of him. But now we have Ben Scott, Serial Killer. I think we had a move between Slump and Swip as well down the field. Ben Scott up into P2. Slump making his way past Swip as well. So those medium tires working quite well for the Haas driver, it seems, as of right now. Swip maybe just burning out those softs a little bit early.
Serial Killer was already derating down the straight as Ben Scott dispatched him there, and then had a big moment through No Name as well. The Alpine's on a bit of a charge right now, and yes, Major getting very close to Joseph there, and Joseph having another moment into Pouon, not looking too happy right now. I'm intrigued to find out what happened later on between the two McLarens. So that was bizarre. They seemed to take each other out, and we'll see now if MCFC can sort of bring that train forward that got stuck behind Liliard. I think so. I think we had about a 3-4 second gap on the first lap. It's now down to 2.5. So MCFC and Marcy doing a good job here, dragging themselves back into contention. But we have got a cracking battle right now for P2, haven't we? Got Ben Scott, Serial Killer, Harry F, Joseph, all within DRS range. And Major looks particularly close on the back of Joseph as well as we finish lap 3. But Harry Maguire checked out.
Yeah, he's absolutely bolted up at the front of the field. 3 seconds after 3 laps here, on to lap number 4 of 22, of course. So a decent way through this Grand Prix already, and looking very strong is the AlphaTauri driver, possibly on for one of his better results this season, possibly his win. First win of the season would be quite timely, I would say, for Corrupt or H. Maguire. Joseph a little bit sideways as they head up through Eau Rouge and Radillon. Let's see what it's going to be. Joseph just barely sneaking DRS off of Harry F in front of him. Excel Major looking to the inside, looking to the outside now. Is just going to have to back off. Joseph a little bit wide through Lacon, but it's going to be able to hold that position. If anything, Harry F is the one struggling in front of him. 9/10, even with DRS to Serial Killer in front of him. Maybe a little bit of a mistake through Lacon there. Joseph going a little bit deep through turn 8 there. Now we head down through No Name, through this left-hander off camera. So very difficult to get the car, or the front of the car, turned in there. Excel Major possibly picking up a track limits warning there, but I think he's going to be safe as Joseph. The inside curb spinning him a little bit, and on the outside curb as well. He's going to be into the wall. That's a front wing gone for the Ferrari driver.
We've seen that too much, those kind of mistakes from Joseph this season. I was about to say, the next thing I was going to say was, he looks nervous, he looks rattled. You can just see these scruffy areas creeping into his game, and then came a big one, and yeah, he's going to have to plummet all the way down. He's going to have to make a pit stop. MCFC nearly collecting him there on the way to Stavolo, but well, it thins out the battle up front a little bit, and it does leave Harry F very vulnerable to Excel Major. In fact, Harry F's dropped well out of Serial Killer's range, who is himself now very close to the back of Ben Scott. We could see a double change in the next lap or so, because Ben Scott really struggling through the last corner. Serial Killer staying very close, and I think for Major and Harry F, I think those mediums are starting to come into their own a little bit for Major, just as these softs start to struggle.
Yeah, the soft tires start to drop off as Joseph is retired before the pit lane, I think. Maybe just hitting the inside wall there. I think he has, because he's been reset the track. But Bro Riley's going to have to take evasive action and avoid that Ferrari on the apex of that final corner. So possibly just driving into the wall a little bit, maybe. Maybe possibly a mistake there. But now looking back up to the front of the field, Excel Major, Harry F swapping positions. The AlphaTauri is going to be well clear of the Alpine as they head into turn 5. And now through the chicane of the middle sector, turn 6 and turn 7 as well. Now Excel Major will be onto the back of Serial Killer, and Ben Scott pulling himself a little bit forward.
Marcy's had a big moment at Malmedy, sorry. I'm not sure what happened. I think he just collected the curb on the second part of Lecombe, went straight into the gravel. He just passed MCFC, and yeah, he just went. I made a little mistake on the curb, went straight into the gravel, has lost 3 places.
Yeah, a lot of things like that, making 1 place and then losing 3.
Harry Maguire.
As Harry Maguire spun it around the AlphaTauri driver, who looked so very strong in the beginning of this, possibly just hitting an inside curb at turn 13, spinning his AlphaTauri around. You have to be so careful after that. The tire's going to be very, very hot for Harry Maguire. And he spun around again. He's not going to hit a wall. He locks it up, and he's going to go straight off. Speed Josh is going to have to take evasive action, but now Harry Maguire, from leading the race down to P11, out on track there. He's definitely going to have to make a pit stop. The mediums, I think, can go from the very beginning of the race, depending on tire pressures, of course. But yeah, he's going to have to make that pit stop after losing so much time there for Harry Maguire. 16 and a half plus seconds as Swip into the pit lane now, so Speed Josh will be up into P7 into the clean air. 11 seconds off the leader is the Red Bull driver, and 4 seconds just in behind MCFC there. But that will be Ben Scott into the lead of this race, followed closely by Serial Killer. Excel Major just barely getting DRS there. I'm not entirely sure how he did. Oh, I saw the leader gap. That kind of explains it. But anyway, Serial Killer 2/10 to Ben Scott as they head into Lycom. Excel Major barely sneaking into DRS range there. Remember, you can only activate the DRS unless you are within 1 second of the car ahead, and Excel Major definitely was. Harry F, though, was not. 1.6 seconds behind Excel Major there. So really struggling is the second Alpine.
I have to say, I'm not... Oh, Serial Killer's gone. Serial Killer's dropped it on the way into No Name. Major had a sniff. But Killer caught that just at the last moment. Is he going to struggle a little bit through Puon? Looks like he's survived. But I was just about to say, I'm not too surprised we saw that from Maguire, actually, because we saw a very similar unforced error last week at Australia on the first start. VSC ended. He immediately speared the car into the wall on the exit of turn 12 at Melbourne. And again, we've seen a similarly unforced error under no pressure from the lead. But we should talk about where the lead is right now, because it's Ben Scott versus Serial Killer versus Major. And, well, with the errors we've seen so far, you can't bet against the lead changing hands more than a couple of times today. Ben Scott, even himself, looked like he had a little bit of an error. Went really wide through Puon, and Ben Scott's into the pits. Major sliding away, Serial Killer sliding away. The softs really started to complain for Serial Killer, I think. That was part of that mistake through No Name. And I think he's going to find himself particularly vulnerable to Major down this main straight. And I think, we've got a yellow flag.
I believe that's
Riordan. Yeah, I think Ben Scott might have played a bit of a blinder here. Although, oh no, he's onto the mediums. I thought I saw red sidewalls then. But here we go for the lead. Here comes Major. He pulls out to the left-hand side. Textbook DRS overtake. He's got the better tyres at this point in the race. And he's got more ERS to Serial Killer as well. Into the lead goes Major. But in that battle, I think Ben Scott's played a bit of a blinder. You said the mediums can go a long ways. Major gets very wide and gets a penalty for his troubles. Ben Scott's going to have a big undercut here.
Riordan retiring in the pit lane. Unfortunate to see it for the Williams driver. Looked strong in qualifying, or had a decent position, but obviously that spin, losing his front wing, was not going to be very reassuring for the Williams driver, who's now out of this race. 16 people remain in this Grand Prix, but now just looking up at the front, Excel Major versus Serial Killer. Excel Major really pulling away at the beginning of this lap. Serial Killer just trying to stick a little bit wide through turn 13, wide of the apex, and he's lost 2 or 3 tenths there, as now we head through the middle sector split. The gap is going to be just over a second. Serial Killer 1.3 seconds off of his race personal best and using all of his ERS. Excel Major using his ERS to try and pull away as much as possible. Excel Major being on that alt strat in those medium tires, already being quite a bit better for him. I'm sure he's going to be feeling very, very confident for the time being. I would imagine Serial Killer into the pit lane on this lap. Let's see what the Red Bull driver does. Yep, understeering his way there, but he will be making it as the rear starts to come around as he heads into the pit lane. But now this puts Excel Major and Serial Killer in Slumcon, into quite the position. MCFC not too far behind as well. Speed Josh, Marcy, all on the alternate strategy as well. So the top 5 all out on track on the alternate strategy. 2 people with penalties, Excel Major and Marcy. But now Serial Killer will be rejoining the track, taking off the pit limiter just about now in that Red Bull. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. I think he's going to come out just splitting the 2 Alpines. Harry F heading out of turn 1 now. Harry Maguire on the hard, setting the fastest lap of the race.
4 seconds Serial Killer's lost to Ben Scott in that. 4 seconds. Well, close to 3 because there was a slight gap beforehand, but that is staggeringly powerful undercut for Ben Scott. And I tell you what, Packer, I'm going to make a bold prediction here on lap 8 of this race. You can record it. It is being recorded because it's being streamed. But I think Slumpcon will win this race. No penalties, and on the last lap he was far and away quicker than anyone who hadn't pitted. He was part of that initial group, but right at the back of it, and he was 2.5 seconds or so behind the back of the group. He's now dragging his way in, 2.2 seconds behind Major. He was only 1.4 behind Serial Killer when he came in. Slumpcon's in a really good rhythm right now. He's quicker than Major. He's quicker than MCFC. He's got no penalties. I think he's in a really good spot to win this race, particularly as we're now going to see Maguire come up to the back of the likes of Swip, where there could just be a slight delay in these guys' progress. And of course, Slumpcon's going to be, it's now 2.0 seconds as we approach the chicane. These guys are going to be on the soft tyres at the end. I really think Slumpcon's got a chance here.
I think we forget that Slumpcon was really a championship contender right at the beginning of the season. Still 5th in the championship as well after 2 DNFs in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. After looking pretty good, there's a jab spinning it around as he was heading down towards Stavlo. But yeah, I think we forget that Slumpcon really was in that championship fight right at the beginning. 2nd place right off the rip in Imola, 8 points, 5 points in France and Portugal, and then a win in Austria, and then hasn't really gone his way since then. DNF in Monaco, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrain, as I said previously, 6 points in Britain, and then a 5th place last time out in Australia. This is really starting to turn the season around. I think that good result in Australia after that restart is really doing him a solid here, and now picked up a little bit of confidence. 2 wheel tracks right in a row. I'm not sure if he is on the wheel. It does seem to look like it. Look to be locking up there into turn 8. But yeah, Slumpcon picking up some confidence here. Him and Excel Major really starting to make a resurgence here in this championship.
I think, well, Excel Major's well on his way to taking the championship lead, isn't he? He needs a 3rd place finish and a fastest lap, or a top 2 finish to take the lead from Energetics, who has dominantly controlled this championship so far. Yeah, Slumpcon, once you find a little bit of consistency in this division, it's so easy to rack up points because the results are so variable, because we see so much chaos and so many unforced errors week by week from various drivers. A little bit of consistency can get you a long way, and indeed it took Energetics into nearly a 40-point championship lead. But now, we're seeing this Slumpcon, if he does find that consistency, he's going to be in a really good position, and if he can pick up a top 2 finish today, or even possibly the victory, it's now under 2 seconds, the gap to XL Major. I think he is in a really solid shout of things as well. And in fact, MCFC's going really well as well. That gap was 3.4. It's now come down to 2.7. MCFC's got some really strong pace here. And not so much Ben Scott, but Serial Killer Harry F are going to have to be wary of these guys in the latter phase of the race when they come out on the soft tyres, because they are very much in play right now, MCFC and Slumpcon. And Slumpcon now 1.6 behind Major.
Yeah, really closing up as Harry Maguire sets another fast lap of the race, so really showing the type of pace that he would have had, especially on those hard compound tires. Marcy, Ben Scott, both picking up 3-second time penalties, so this really swings it in favor of Slumpcon. You lose about 17, 18, maybe 19 seconds determining your pit entry, pit exit, as Ben Scott comes up to the back of Marcy, getting very close to the back of the Mercedes driver. Right now, Excel Major is 18.5 seconds in front of Serial Killer, and that gap is not necessarily coming down, but it's not extending either. So Serial Killer seems to be in quite a spot of bother, especially once we get to these later laps. His medium tires are going to start to get a little bit better than the guys up front, but those soft tires, once the current leaders pit, are going to be absolutely rapid, especially if they have a fresh set.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Like you say, if Serial Killer can't capitalise now when he's got significantly fresher tyres, he is going to be in a great bother towards the end of the race. Penalty for Jav. I mean, we saw he picked up about 30 seconds of those. Penalty for H. Maguire as well. That's more consequential on the race. We saw about 30 seconds of penalties for Jav in the Endure race in midweek. But Slumpcon really doing a great job here, and the MCFC as well, 2.5. These guys are really catching XL Major. I thought Major, once he got past the soft runners, would start to run away with this race. That has not been the case at all. And actually, let's check in with Ben Scott, because he is, I think, about to dispatch another medium starter. Alt Strata is within half a second of Marcy. You can see the red light of Marcy is flashing away. Upper Rouge, he's derating. He's on 5% ERS, and he's still got the entire Camel straight to go, and he's going to try use his overtake. It's not going to do any favours whatsoever, because here comes Ben Scott, pulls out the left-hand side. Marcy can cover the inside, and whatever he does, Ben Scott can just go the other way, takes the outside nicely, and he's ahead by the time he turns in for the apex of Le Combe. So Ben Scott putting himself in a good position to win this race. 14 seconds off the lead, about 12.3 seconds behind Slumpcon. But when you factor in Ben Scott's got a 3-second penalty, he's definitely not out of the woods, I'd say, Ben Scott, from Slumpcon, and even Major with his penalty. So I'm really intrigued how this is going to shake out at the end of the race, because right now we've got quite a big field spread. No one's really in DRS, but I think the battle for the win is going to really close up in interesting ways once we start to see these medium runners pit.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, especially now just on lap 11, halfway through this Grand Prix as we get to the next lap. Slumpcon has all of, not all of his ERS, but he's about half batteries. Excel Major, that's kind of early in my opinion. You only take the softs at the beginning of the race, 6, 7, 8 laps, and he's pitting on at the end of lap 11.
Unless
so what is that, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 11 laps on the softs?
Unless he's two-stopping. But if he's two-stopping, I can't see anyone else doing that, even for Division 5, I think. And because Major has told me in a post-interview before that as he comes out right behind Serial Killer, but he will be on much quicker rubber to start with. As soon as the tyres start to slide, he comes in. And I can't see him doing 11 laps on the softs without them sliding. So I can only think Major is going for a two-stop here, because if he's taken the softs 11 laps, that's a struggle anyway. Plus, just the fact he doesn't like it only take tires to about 30-40%. It's bizarre. I mean, you see the overspeed he's got on Serial Killer; it is immense. Look at the confidence under braking, willing to have a look around the outside of turn 8. And whatever Serial Killer does, look how much more confidence and speed there is. Serial Killer so slow off No Name.
Oh, no.
And Major's able to just jump on the airs, pulls out to the inside for Puon, and simple as you like. Didn't even need to wait for a straight to get that move done. Fabulous stuff from Major, but he's going to have a headache in about 5 or 6 laps time when those softs start to struggle, and he's wondering, does he pit, does he stay out?
Yeah, quite the situation Excel Major has put himself in. Here, he does have Marcy just up the road. I would imagine he would get DRS on the next lap. Ooh, that's Bebo O'Reilly. Luke Etheridge, sliding around at Lake Slumpcon is now in. No safety car or VSC quite yet. So Slumpcon pitting, maybe jumping the gun a little bit. MCFC will stay out, assume the lead on track of this race. Slumpcon hitting the pit lane. Just trying to cover off Excel Major, even though he was behind. So I'm not entirely sure what the exact thinking behind this pit stop is, as his Haas mechanics take off his mediums, put on his fresh set of soft tires, assuming that they're fresh, of course. Ricky picks up a 3-second time penalty down in 11. And now Slumpcon has come out 3 seconds almost exactly behind Serial Killer. Excel Major, as we witnessed, was able to dispatch Serial Killer, and now is dispatching of Marcy. Marcy's 0 ERS. Excel Major just with the DRS, a little dash of ERS to convince his way by, make it a little bit easier. And he'll be up into P4 out on track. There's still 2 people yet to pit in front of him, but I think he's going to be really happy with where he's made it so far in this race. And if the soft tires are this much faster than the mediums right now, what could you imagine for MCFC? And if Slumpcon had stayed out for a little bit longer, imagine the gap then. Or imagine the gap in pace then.
Well, yeah, you say that Slumpcon was 1.3 seconds behind Major when Major pitted. That gap is now over 4 seconds. It's 4.5 seconds between Major and Slumpcon. So Slumpcon's lost 3 seconds to Major in a 1-lap undercut. MCFC had been catching both of them, and in fact he'd pulled the gap down from about 3 seconds to Slumpcon to 2 seconds by the time Slumpcon came in last lap. So even if MCFC comes in this lap, he's going to have eroded all of that hard work. But the thing is, how are these softs going to be at the end of the race? You've got to think, and MCFC is in, we've got massive undercut, we've got massive deg as well, and that was a daring move from Serial Killer there. He tried to bait Marcy, went left and then darted back to the right hand side. Didn't manage to make it work, but he's got a second help or a first help in a DRS towards that source, and he is going to make this move stick nicely. But then he's got the trouble of trying to defend down the next straight. Jav has spun again, and Marcy's going to tuck in here. He's going to try to get a move done through Eau Rouge. This could be immense if the Mercedes driver can get it done, and indeed I think, did Marcy glitch there? The camera cut away, I think, just at the crucial time for me, unfortunately.
Excel Major, Ben Scott swapping positions up at the front. Marcy or Serial Killer, neither of them getting DRS, which is interesting since both of them are quite low on ERS as well. MCFC making his way past Harry F on those soft tires, so Harry F already losing 3 positions to the people who have pit off of the mediums and onto the softs already. So Harry F's race not going exactly to plan, and he has Harry Maguire just in behind him. Serial Killer looking to the outside of Marcy.
No.
Into the wall. Marcy gets spun around there, down at no name, and he's going to be into the wall, possibly a little bit of rear wing damage, but I think it wasn't the hardest of hits. And now Harry Maguire will be up to 7, so Harry Maguire, Harry Yef, MCFC, Serial Killer all gaining position from that. Serial Killer possibly a little bit of damage, but I don't think he hit the wall hard enough. But just watching on board with him, Slumpcon pulling away quite convincingly, but that's also the power of those fresh softs.
It is. They're really coming to their own for something. I'm very confused what happened between Serial Killer and Marcy. I'm first confused what happened to Eau Rouge, because it looked like they were going side by side, and then suddenly Marcy was ahead, and then into No Name again. I think that was mainly contact model. It's hard to tell if Serial Killer really chopped across Marcy or not from the angle I had. I mean, my initial take is probably Marcy just understeered a little bit and then was collected by Suka. It looked like Suka left a lot of room, but I think he has got damage because he's really, I know he's on older tyres, but he's really into the clutches of MCFC, who has, I'm going to say, is stuck. He's much closer to Slumpcon post-pit stop than I thought he would be, which is making me think Slumpcon just had a very shoddy in-lap, potentially.
Well, he was possibly behind Serial Killer in all of that battle as well, I think. Well, I'm not entirely sure on that one. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, maybe possibly a mistake creeping in for the Haas driver. As MCFC will make his way past Serial Killer down towards Lake Com. No ERS for the Alfa Romeo remaining. As you can see, that red light is flashing, but Slumpcon has managed his ERS quite well. Excel Major up at the front of this race. He's still going to have to take those tires quite a long ways. He does have a low amount of ERS, not a decent amount, but a low amount for the Alpha Tower driver. Ben Scott P2, as of right now, has about the same amount. They're not split by too much, are the Alpha Tower and the Alpine, and even then, Excel Major isn't really pulling way too much. So maybe possibly just breaking the DRS and then trying to conserve the tires. But Ben Scott's still in this race, kind of. If Excel Major were to pick up another 3-second time penalty, it is quite easy around Spa. So let's see. Let's keep an eye out for that one. And Slumpcon, 3.4 seconds behind MCFC. Just heading through Stavlo there. Gained around half a tenth. Obviously, Slumpcon has the ERS to fight back with that. And barely, just for a little bit, MCFC into DRS range. Slumpcon has to burn a little bit of ERS. MCFC using all the way down towards Blanchimont. This gap is getting pretty close for third.
These guys need to work together right now rather than fighting. There's 7 laps to go at the end of this one. Or 7 laps to go now, I should say, as Major crosses the line. They can catch Ben Scott. I mean, they're only 2.7 behind. They can get through Ben Scott. They can get onto Major. These guys are quicker than Major and Ben Scott. And they've got a real chance to win this race. Neither of them have penalties. They work together. They can get a 1 and a 2 place finish. I've got no doubt about that. But if they start squabbling, if MCFC does pull his way into DRS, does start fighting Slumpcon, they're going to deny either of them a chance of victory. I'm going to interrupt myself because we've got a battle for P6 going on here. We've got H. Maguire closing in on Harry F. We're going to see a DRS overtake, I think, towards Lecom. And Maguire's going to get that move done very early. Harry F. not really fighting that. He's got plenty of errors, both of these guys. But Harry F. sliding away through Lecom there, and Harry Maguire's away by almost a second already. Those hard tyres, didn't think anyone would go near them, even in D5, but they're working really well. This is begging the question, what pace could Maguire have if he was on the medium tyres? You mentioned he lost 16 seconds when he spun. He's only 11.5 seconds on the lead, off the lead on the slowest tyre. If he'd run a normal soft medium and hadn't had that spin, God knows how far up the road he could be. He could have a 10, 12 second lead by now.
Well, even then, it was just a 16-second gap to the leader. He had like a 5-second lead when he spun. So 21 possibly seconds ish about for for H. Maguire. So really showing his pace here, and he's not burned through all of his ERS either. So good ERS managed for Icon Corrupt. Obviously, H. Maguire, but showing pretty decent race management. Obviously, that spin looks pretty bad on his resume here in Belgium. Round number 10, of course, of this championship, but still looking pretty strong, and he's already on for a pretty good result as well. Just looking at his penalties, 3 seconds, so the same as Serial Killer, 1.3 seconds. 1.3 seconds up the road there in the Red Bull. But now, looking to P3, Slumpcon's within DRS range of Ben Scott and MCFC, not quite in DRS tow range of Ben Scott. So now MCFC is racing Ben Scott instead of Slumpcon just to get within DRS range.
I think we're going to see a move P2 very soon. Unlucky for Ben Scott, but the alt strat has been quite powerful here in Slumpcon. And Major maximising the wet conditions and quality to get good track position early on with a medium tyre. And I don't think Ben Scott's going to have much in his locker to defend from Slumpcon or even MCFC, as he has a moment out of no name there. Although MCFC has just picked up his first penalty of the race. So now MCFC absolutely is going to have to pass Ben Scott if he wants to get on the podium. He couldn't just hang it back and wait it out. He's going to have to make the move, and he's going to have to make the move before those soft tyres start to go. Slumpcon 4.4 off the lead. He is matching Major's pace, but of course the hard part is once he gets past Ben Scott, he's got to do it without the aid of DRS. He's got no little gadgets he can use to help close him in. He's got to do it all on pure performance. We know he's quicker than Major, and you can see the gap's come down to 4.1, but I think this is going to be so tight, so sparring on these last few laps between Slumpcon and Ben Scott. And is Slumpcon going to go for it before he even gets to the DRS here? He's going to have a look around the outside. They're side by side through the first part of the bus stop, but that switches to the inside line for Slumpcon, and he's going to come away with this with DRS as well. Ben Scott gets a slightly better exit.
Look at MCFC
on the outside of the corner. MCFC's very close by this as well, as you say, but his light is flashing away, and a Slumpcon, I'm not sure he's played this as well as he could have done, because he's now going to leave himself vulnerable to not one, but 2 cars down the main straight, and MCFC could pick up 2 positions here on those soft tyres.
Cutting the inside of Eau Rouge as they headed up the hill, but now it's going to be DRS for Ben Scott and for MCFC. Slumpcon using all of his reserves of ERS. Ben Scott's going to be around the outside of the Haas driver. The Alfa Romeo on the grass as he looks for the inside of his fellow Ferrari-powered car, and I think that's going to be 1 position gain for Slumpcon, and then loses another 2. So 1 step backwards in the long run for Slumpcon there. But now MCFC is going to have a good run at Ben Scott on this next lap as he goes wide through turn 8 and now recovers through no name. Obviously, his tires are going to be a little bit better still than Ben Scott, so he'll be able to close up and won't lose too much time with that mistake here through the middle sector. But yeah, I think Ben Scott is quite a sitting duck. Obviously, Slumpcon didn't play it as well as he could have. I think he should have waited until on this lap, of course. But now on to lap number 18. Lap number 19 very, very soon. Excel Major still up at the front of this field. It's going to be very difficult for Slumpcon if he wants to go and win this race, because now MCFC, now he's the 3rd car in this DRS chain. Ben Scott moving over to the right-hand side, looking to break the DRS as we head through Blanchimont. MCFC not even using his DRS, just pure slipstream and the lack of drag from the slipstream. He's not going to be pulling. Not going to be looking to make an overtake down into turn 18 through the bus stop chicane. Now MCFC with DRS open down towards turn 1. Ben Scott with not the greatest of exits, and Ben Scott lifting up the power a little bit as the Alpine driver. So maybe MCFC going to get overtaken by both the Alpine and the Haas. But let's see what the Alfa Romeo can do to counteract this.
I think MCFC saw Ben Scott's tactic, then went deep into turn 1 to try and return the favour and shepherd Ben Scott back through. Ben Scott wasn't having any of it. Slumpcon's got a penalty through Radion, so this is no longer a battle for the win. But Slumpcon, after being double overtaken last lap, he's going to have a go another overtake this lap. Ben Scott covers the inside line at the last possible moment as Slumpcon tries to switch back and then catches the inside tyre of Ben Scott. These guys, this is what I said earlier about they should be tripping over each other. The real enemy is Major and Slumpcon. Well, the other 2 had penalties, but Slumpcon could have won this race if he'd cleared these guys, if he'd played the DRS game correctly the last lap. And as it is, he's going to have to settle for fourth because he's picked up such a simple, costly penalty just following these guys through Radion. And this is painful to watch, the tactics of these guys. They're just letting Major get away. All three of them are quicker than Major. Ben Scott was quicker than Major through the middle sector last lap around. They've all got it in them to win the race, but they're just doing these silly DRS tactics. Ben Scott lifting off into turn one, and then MCFC going deep to try and let Ben Scott through. They're not helping each other. They could have got in amongst Major. They had enough time, but certainly not now. The gap's 5.2. Is MCFC going to learn his lesson? Is he going to overtake Ben Scott early, or is he going to leave it late and they're going to go side by side into the bus stop again? And I think, a little squeeze there on Ben Scott, who just has a moment, the back end stepping out on him, and it's now rolls reverse towards turn one. Actually, it's not rolls reverse, same as last lap, and MCFC goes very deep again. Is he trying to let Ben Scott through, or is that a mistake? It's very hard to tell. And you can tell just by watching them, though, that they don't want to hit this line packer in the lead of this group, do they? Not at all.
Yeah, you can see just how easy it is to overtake. Before the DRS is even activated for Ben Scott. He was up into the front of this little train. Now Slumkhan looking for an advantage. This time MCFC loses 2 positions, but Slumkhan not able to challenge Ben Scott up at the front. He has a little bit more ERS, but that's not going to affect too many things in the long run, I don't think. But we are on to lap 20 of 22. MCFC getting close to the back of the house, just in front of him, getting hooked by that inside curb there at turn 8. Not exactly the best thing you could do in this moment, but Excel Major, as of right now, leading this race, winning this race for the time being. As long as he doesn't pick up, well, even if he does pick up another penalty, he'll still be in the lead of this race in terms of, in time. So let's see how he's able to manage these last 2 in a third of a lap here in Belgium. Round number 10, of course. Excel Major looking to take the championship lead the first time. The championship lead will swap this season, I do believe. So, yeah, Energetic's been really dominant from the start. 2 wins and then that third place right at the beginning in Portugal. Looking really strong. Obviously not racing here tonight, but let's see what Slumkhan can do into the bus stop chicane. Looking to the inside. Ben Scott gives him the room, to be fair, but not looking to take that position. Ben Scott is going to pull over to the left. He slows down. Slumkhan turning off the DRS. MCFC looking to the inside down towards La Source. He's played this game before. Slumkhan braking. Ben Scott braking even earlier just to try and stay behind these guys. Slumkhan, or now it's going to be MCFC, Ben Scott, Slumkhan for the 3rd lap in a row in this order. Now we also have to look out for Maguire. He's closing in on these guys, and he has ERS. Is that a little bit of a slide from Slumkhan? But here comes MCFC, moves to the middle of the circuit. Slumkhan's going to be looking to the inside. Ben Scott doesn't get the greatest of runs, and Slumkhan is absolutely busted. Look at the run that he had down towards Lake Com, and now he's going to be in the lead of this train. He's going to be able to pull away. It's going to be difficult for him because Ben Scott's been strong through the middle sector all day so far. And now H. Maguire, 1.5 seconds. Those hard tires not working too well for him, especially since he has the oldest tires in terms of lap. Completed MCFC into the back of Ben Scott. But H. Maguire not having the greatest, he's having a pretty decent time on those hard tires, but since he's just done so many more laps than some of these guys in front of him, their tires are still going to be starting to wear, of course. But now Slumkhan leading this train now, and in the clean air, he's pulling away a little bit, but once again, it's not enough because Ben Scott consistent as ever through this middle sector.
We've got Harry F's out. We're not going to have a safety car because we've got 1 lap to go, but Harry F was running P8, and he's still in P8 because he had such a big lead over Marcy. But yeah, I'm very disappointed in those tactics from MCFC, and then Ben Scott biting and slowing down as well. Just not what you want to see. It's not clean and fair racing, in my opinion. We'll see if Slumkhan tries any similar tactics. We've got H. Maguire, now well within this battle as we go towards the last lap. And what is Ben Scott and Slumkhan? What are they going to do? Is Slumkhan going? He's not stooping to the level that MCFC sank last lap. He's going to try and ride this out. He's got a 0.7 of a second lead. That could be just all he needs because Ben Scott's going to be derating. Slumkhan's derating as well, but it's going to be DRS only. There's going to be no ERS to use for any of these drivers as they come down the main straight. MCFC has a look to the left, tries to cut to the right, shot back underneath the Alpine, who's having none of it. Ben Scott covering the inside line, then shapes to the outside line. this way and that for MCFC. He tries to force his way around the outside, picks the inside line second part of Lacombe. Can he stick it, tough it out around Melody? And then H. Maguire nearly spearing into the side of him, but the AlphaTauri has to get out on the grass, take evasive action. MCFC's now just given up and he's barging his way through on Ben Scott through turn 8 and then back again through 9 through No Name. Absolutely no quarter given, no respect given between these two. They're happy to barge each other out of the way. Ben Scott does so into Pouon, then goes wide. That's going to leave him vulnerable from both towards Lefania. H. Maguire's having a look down the outside of MCFC and he goes deep on the brake. That's not normally an overtake opportunity. Ben Scott's on the gravel
and he's
Ben
around.
Scott's he spun round, he bottled it on the last lap. Ben Scott, these two are still side by side. H. Maguire hangs it around the outside. He's got the ERS advantage, but is he going to hang on? Because MCSC's got the slipstream towards the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, MCFC heading through Blanchimont. Now they're going to be side by side. Harry Maguire, longtime leader at the beginning of this race. Excel Major, his teammate in AlphaTauri, looking to take the race victory. NCFC up the inside of the AlphaTauri. Excel Major comes across the line to win the Belgian Grand Prix here for round number 10 and will take the championship lead. Slumpcon will assume second place. H. Maguire finds his way somehow onto the podium after that, after spinning twice earlier on in this race. So what a great recovery from him. Twice the amount of laps completed than MCFC on their tires. Speed Josh in his debut after crashing and qualifying will finish P5. Serial Killer P6. Ben Scott after that spin on the final lap P7. Marcy will come across the line in P8. I think Swip though might just be able to get that, especially since Marcy has 12 seconds of penalties. So yeah, Swip will take P9 or P8, and Marcy will take P9. Ricky will be finishing in P10 on track. Ibo P11 will be taking home some points for Mercedes as well, and Jab will be finishing P13 for Jab, because Jess right on his backside, 3 seconds behind him with Jab with 9 seconds of penalties. No points as of right now for the Aston Martin man, and then Alex Lilliard not in the lobby. So we just have to wait for for Ibo, Jab, and Jess. But yeah, crazy race there, especially right at the end. The tactics played by some of the drivers eventually biting them on the backside.
Yep, and that last lap of battling between MCFC and Ben Scott, I don't think was particularly clean or fair from either driver. If it was up to me, they'd both get penalties, but it depends, I suppose, how aggrieved either is feeling. Slumpcon will be breathing a sigh of relief that he managed to get away from that and ended up finishing ahead of them by 2 seconds. Maguire somehow recovering to a podium from that spin. It was his own making, but what a fabulous recovery on the hard tyres as well, to finish only 4.6 seconds off the lead after losing a good 20 seconds to a pair of spins is remarkable and shows how much this race was within his grasp up until that point. I don't really have a driver of the day I want to give it to be honest, because I don't think anyone deserves it after that stormy race, but let's just run through the results. So not Slumpcon, XL Major wins from 7th on the grid, Slumpcon P2 from 9th. H. Maguire recovered well from that early spin to P3. MCFC went from 18th to 4th, showed really great pace well on the Altstrap. Speed Josh went up from 15th to 5th, and then Serial Killer in 6th, Ben Scott in 7th, Swip in 8th, Marcy in 9th, Ricky in 10th, Ibo 11th, Jess Gamer 12th after, I think, a season best qualifying in P10. Jav is in 13th, Alex Lilliard 14th, 15th for Harry F, although he didn't finish the race. Babo Riley, Reid and Joseph, and myself also DNF in. I did have a feeling back in qualifying when we saw them on the front row briefly, that this would be the race, the two Alpines together come good. I keep waiting for it to happen because they have so much promise, but it's just not happening for them. Harry F, third in the championship before tonight. He can get in that fight, but cost himself today.
Yeah, Ben Scott, the higher of the two Alpines here tonight. 37 points to his name, 8th in the championship before coming into tonight. Coming into tonight. So that would have been a really good result for him. Anywhere on the podium in the top 5 would have been a decent haul of points for him. His best finish this season, P5 in Portugal. So I'm sure he would have been happy with that. Harry F, sort of off the pace of his teammate here tonight. after pulling in a second place last time out in Australia. So, yeah, I believe both of us are unavailable to do interviews very quickly, or do interviews tonight. So I guess that's gonna have to end the stream for here. Time constraints, as always. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. It was quite the eventful race, and I'm sure a lot of people will be either happy with the results, and I'm sure we got some pretty good content from that as well. Anyway.